Everybody, Dave Clark from InspectCheck.net. Today we're going to take a look at an electrical issue that I encountered, and it's something that it caught me a little bit off guard. So I want to talk about that right now. I'm going to share my screen and get right into it. And here it is. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here, right there. So, standard breaker panel, and everything was wired okay in the panel. I didn't see anything initially, see any issues, except of course for some multiple tapping. So let's take a look at that first. And obviously this is multiple tapped. This one's multiple tapped. This one's multiple tapped. Okay, easy to spot that, easy to report on that. Not a big deal. Of course, any inspector would catch that. But what really caught my eye is the melting of the wires going on here. So if you look, you'll see that there's a little bit happening right here. I'll use red, a little bit right here, definitely right here. This wire's melting, and we can see that this is starting to melt. Picture's maybe not as clear as it could be, but this, both of these conductors are melted. So at first, I mean, it's again not hard to look at, but if we take a closer look, we see this is a 20 amp breaker. These are both 12 gauge, and we see another 20, and these are both 12 gauge. We see a 15, and these are both 14. So they're amped correctly, and we know what the amperage should be, right? On a 15, we normally have a 14 gauge wire. On a 20, we have a 12 gauge wire, a 30, a 10 gauge wire. As a matter of fact, here you go. There's a 10. Over there, right on this double pole 30. So they're amped correctly. So even with the multiple tapping, if they're the same size, what could be causing this? So I checked where the circuits were going. I checked some of the receptacles. They seemed fine. They were grounded. They showed good continuity. They were not reverse polarity. There was no real issue that I could find with it. So I told them it's dangerous, of course, and that we recommend that an electrician take a look at it. And I'd like to know what he found. Well, what he found was that these breakers were defective. All three of them were defective. I talked to him later. He told me how he did that. He put a load on it, and they just failed to trip. The fact that they're multiple tap, which means they're running, 2 circuits instead of 1, probably didn't help that. As a matter of fact, it probably made it worse. So just something to take a look at. When you see any type of melting like that, you automatically think that it's overfused or overamped. In this case, that's not what happened. It was that the breakers were defective. I just something I thought you'd be interested in seeing. So I want to show you. So how would we report on that? Very simple. They're all simple. Use an inspector. We could go to the electric section, and of course we put down the size, but really we're going to head right to the service panel. In this case, that service panel was in the basement. We'll mark it complete. There were circuit breakers. Mark that complete. No sub panel in this place. And we're not going to click connections appear satisfactory, because they sure don't. And unfortunately, we're going to have to come down here. And we were working on this before. And going to be in our action column, or necessary repair or further evaluation. I'm going to go right over here to evidence of overheating. Okay, so overheating of any part of the electric service is a very serious condition. An electric fire could result from overheating. Recommend. And I'm going to put 3 circuits. You could put breakers or circuits. 3 breakers or 3 circuits. That's all. The electrician is going to find that. Again, we're not going to have our homeowner worry about that at all. Okay, so we don't want them to do that. So it's as simple as that. Evidence of overheating, and we're done in that case. Of course, we have to put down the branch circuit wiring conductor, but as far as that goes, as far as the panel, we could, if you want, say, satisfactory connection, most areas, see below, but I don't want to give them a false sense of security. So I'm probably not going to do that, just so I want to drive their attention to this, because that's very obviously a serious condition. So when we talk about that, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give them an attachment. I'm going to add an attachment. I'm going to go to our library. In this case, I'm going to go down to electric, And I'm going to give them this one, preventing electrical fires. I'm going to click on that, and they'll just give them a little more of an idea of the seriousness of that, or seriousness that it could be. And again, we can send that full text right in the report, or we could send a link. I usually do a link. I mean, you could do both. It just makes the report a little bit longer, but you could do either one of those. Okay, so we all know the sizes, the amperage, but when that checks out, now again, the multiple tapping was an issue there, but let's pretend that wasn't there, and it was still melted. So that's why I wanted to show you really that sometimes the melting like that arcing, we don't know what causes that. It could be anything. There could be other things, surges, or you just don't know. But in this case, they found out that the breaker would not trip, and we're going to do, and there may already be a good video on a breaker that's opened up, so we could take a look at exactly how that works. I find that pretty interesting too. So just a quick video talking about some arcing inside that main service panel. Wasn't expecting to find that. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. You can also check homeinspectortrainingonline.com, and see you next time.